Hey, what's up, YouTube? Whiskey here with a, I guess, intermediate guide to what I kind of settled on for a Hex Witch build here in Path of Exile 2. I hadn't really been satisfied with the other guides I saw out there. They seem to rely a lot on crit rate, crit damage. I'm kind of new at this game. I didn't know what I was doing for like the first half, pretty much. So even now, having cleared the game and done my first Waystone map, like I have absolute terrible gear, and so it's going to be a struggle moving forward. And I had to figure out how to build this without relying on crit rate, crit damage. So I came up with something. Currently level 68. I started building this late 50s. Started getting into this particular build. So we'll check it out here and see if hopefully it helps you guys out. Alright, so right off the bat, we'll set up our auras here. We've got Blasphemy and Withering Presence. Blasphemy is projecting our Despair Curse, which we're also attaching Heightened Curse and Magnified Effect. So we get approximately 38% Chaos Shred, and with the Withering, which I've also got the support gem on the skeletal minions, we're seeing 35% Withering effect on them. And all this together comes at 114 spirit cost, so that's something we'll have to keep in mind here as we go along. Next, we're going to set up our skills here. We've got Contagion and Hexblast. Will be our main rotation. Put Contagion up and then start blasting away with Hexblast. On Contagion, we're going to set it up with Hinder, Persistence, and Chaotic Freeze. This is going to allow us to hit the first enemy, potentially start freezing them. Once we start blasting them, they're going to start taking damage over time. They die, they're going to spread this to all the other mobs, which is super helpful. Just randomly freezing stuff to help you out, help you get away, help you dodge, heal up, whatever you got to do, or just stand there and blast away. So that's how we'll set up Contagion. Hexblast, we're going to set up with Inspiration and Arcane Tempo. And then I've been switching back and forth between Considered Casting and Concentrated Effect. You know, if you need more area clear, then you can go with Considered Casting. If you want more single target boss damage, swap on the Concentrated Effect where you don't need the extra area damage, and go with that. Alright, so getting into our passive tree here. It's complicated to explain all this, but I think the best way that I figured out was to go into the spell damage here, because there's not a lot of spell damage nodes early on, at least that I found around here. So I went ahead and gone with this, and over time eventually got rid of pretty much every minion skill. Once you start getting late game, it doesn't really matter. Like, you know, they don't do damage and they get one shot by a lot of different things, so they're a convenient distraction, you know, when they're clogging a doorway or whatever. But for the most part, it seems they seem entirely unnecessary. They weren't doing anything. But we'll start out going up the spell branch here, spell damage branch, and you can go into cast speed over here to get you some extra cast speed. Mana regen is pretty important. Once you get a pretty high cast speed on it, it starts sucking down mana. So mana regen is something you're definitely going to want to have at least a little bit of. And you know, early on you can go down both of these. I did early on too, but as you start branching out, you know, you'll pick up more substantial nodes later on. So I've got the energy shield here, and I was able to just focus this branch on spell damage alone. One thing to note, once you pick up the Ascendancy and you get this passive skill here, you're going to start getting tanked. And it took me like a whole day to fix my build at this point, because I had no idea that was going to happen. So make sure you're picking up and holding on to anything you see with life regen. Any of the armor pieces you see with life regen should be at, you know, at least 5. But it can be 10, 15, 20 points of life regen on a piece of armor, and that's pretty good. So if you're just starting out, keep that in mind too. You're going to want to go over here and pick up these life regeneration rate nodes. And this is also pretty convenient for what we're doing with Hexblast, because there's a bunch of area of effect nodes over here too that we got that are close by, and we've got some extra aura points here as well. Of course, we've got chaos damage right here, a little bit right here. We've got nice chaos damage over here, and of course we've got our curse effect, increased area of effect of curses, which I don't know if that applies with blasphemy or if that's just on the base area if you laid it down on the ground. But anyways, I got that early on when I was, before, and I haven't had any real reason to change it here. Going up a little bit, I talk about those couple of nodes there, but the other close by chaos nodes are right over here, up and to the left, and then up and to the right we've got some more stuff for our curses here, increased effect for curses. Yeah, real quick now, with this particular thing, we're adding a hindering on our curse. And then I've also got hinder on contagion, so that'll spread once enemies start dying, and of course this will apply on them once they're within our presence. It is a lower potency. This one is a lower potency than the one that's on contagion, but it still affects this node over here, which is giving us 30% increased damage on hits to hindered enemies. So that's pretty good. Altogether, we've got chaos damage, we've got spell damage, we've got chaos resistance shred, we've got extra damage when they're hindered here, just straight damage increase, and that's about as much as you can get until you can manage to get further out in the tree. I know eventually I think we want to go over here and get this area damage, bunch of extra area damage over here. We've got some more mana regen. I think there's a shield recharge over here close to, there's cast speed. I could be wrong on the shield recharge, but eventually we'll make our way over there. I just didn't see early on, a lot of the other YouTube videos, all their nodes are like way out here on this branch, and then they've got this chaos node way over here, which eventually, I want to get that too, get increased effect of withered and a lot of extra chaos damage. But it made more sense to balance it out with spell damage and other types of damage. We've got right here, close by these nodes that we've already got, we've got increased area of effect, spell area damage. And so these 6 nodes plus these 4 nodes over here, I mean, we're getting a lot of extra effect and damage instead of what seemed to me just dumping, attribute points just to get all the way over here and get like 1 or 2 nodes unlocked. It makes more sense just to get the early nodes, and then later on, once I get to like level 80 or something, it'd probably be better to branch out and get those further nodes for a little more stat increases. Eventually, of course, we want to go into crit, but we really can't do that until we get our 6th ascendancy point and increase the base crit chance of our spells to 15% down here. It doesn't really seem worth it to me to invest in crit until you can get the base crit chance up, because you're really only getting like half, or would it be like a quarter, right? If you had 200% crit chance on 7% versus 200% crit chance of 15%, you're still only getting like half or a quarter of what you would otherwise get. So it just doesn't seem worth it to invest in it at all if you don't have the pieces for it. Eventually you will. Eventually we'll go crit, because that's, the thing to do, I guess. But that's a passive skill tree for now, at least. Hopefully that helps you guys out some. Sorry about the audio in that last segment there. I had originally recorded it and it was way too quiet, so I turned the gain up on the microphone some and re-recorded it, and it was way too much gain. So, these things my first video to do like this, so hopefully you guys understand that. I'll go ahead and leave the rest of the map 1 clear up here so you guys can watch and take a look for yourself. My Hexblast in the item screen, it says it's doing 50-100 DPS. That's not like amazing. People were doing like 1,000,000 damage with other builds, but this was just what got me through Acts 1 through 3 curl, pretty much, and then clearing this first map. So of course a lot of improvements to make gear wise and whatnot. Things we'll want to look out for really is crit rate on spells, crit damage. Try to get some item rarity on more pieces to get some better pieces to drop. And then, the usual. I think part of the problem I had like -7 resistance, so a lot of it I had to just play a lot safer than I otherwise would have. Some maps and just walk right through. It's no problem. But that just has to do with me kind of not really knowing how to optimize everything. And eventually, hopefully I get there. Maybe we'll do an update in a few weeks or months, something like that. See how it goes. Appreciate you guys watching. Thanks.